Greg here from Galactic Gaming News. I recently went back to a childhood favorite of mine, Donkey Kong Country, and decided to look into what Donkey Kong Country metagaming is. And so I thought I'd share the experience since I found it interesting. Anyway, here you go. I've heard more and more people over the years say that Donkey Kong Country is a rhythmic game. In all my time with the game as a child, I never had that experience. However, others would have it that bouncing on enemies and shooting DK out of barrels provides a satisfying rhythmic experience. For instance, I've heard claims that Donkey Kong Jungle Beat's combo-based gameplay finds its inspiration in Donkey Kong Country. And I've also heard that one of the primary concerns of Donkey Kong Country Returns is to revive a sense of speedy, bouncy gameplay found in the original DKC. I'd argue that the game is inconsistent in its intentions to provide a sense of rhythm. However, if you're looking for an example of a stage that does show off Donkey Kong Country's idea of rhythm, there's no better place to look than Snow Barrel Blast. In particular, I'd like to look at the second half. Rhythm in DKC is a matter of three things. 1. Hitting the most enemies, and 2. Earning the most lives, and 3. The shortest period of time. This means that your goal will often be finding a way to bounce off of the most enemies possible without letting up on the right arrow of the control pad. The lives will take care of themselves. This plan will net you plenty of bananas and balloons. Wait, John Boy, take us back to just before the last Neki, and slow down the footage to a fourth. Pause. Donkey Kong is certainly low enough here that he should have either missed the Neki entirely, or at least taken damage from contact. One of the most important things about Donkey Kong Country is that its core engine is very lenient. The game will by far give you the benefit of the doubt when it comes to bouncing off of enemies. John Boy, take us back to the first barrel after the Rambi token, and slow it down again. Pause. Here's another instance of the engine being lenient. You can see here I'm a frame late on firing the barrel. It's already pointing down. Yet, when I hit the B button, Donkey Kong fires out straight. These barrels spin fast enough that you can't just hit the B button when you see that they're facing in the right direction. Your reaction time won't be fast enough. On the other hand, even though it is a matter of learning the timing, at least the timing doesn't require perfection. The engine is lenient, and that's pretty helpful in maintaining momentum. It means you won't need perfection in pulling off every move. However, maintaining a sense of rhythm in each stage does demand memorization of each moment. It's rare that you'll encounter a stage that follows a pattern. Instead, you'll just need to learn a bunch of discrete moments. It's a matter of level design. Take the flock of Nekis near the start, for instance. In order to jump on the first one and start off the chain of bounces, you'll have to tap the jump button. If you hold it down, you'll miss the first Neki in the flock, but you can still catch the rest. So in that case, the level design is lenient. However, if you tap the B button to start the chain, you can't leave it unpressed or else you won't hit anything else. Most of the time anyway. So you have to tap the B button at first, but then hold it after you bounce off the first Neki. In order to be safe, the most practical option here is straight memorization, since it's lenient in some cases, but not in others. In addition, the barrel sequence requires memorization because it's nearly random. So, the timing on shooting yourself out of each barrel depends on how far you need that barrel to turn. For instance, if you need to wait for the barrel to turn 90 degrees, you'll press the B button sooner than if you had needed it to turn 180 degrees. Simple enough, right? So let's take a look at how many degrees you need each barrel to turn. 90, 135, 90, 180, 180, 135, 180, 180, 180, 540, 540, 540, 180, 90, 135, 135, 90, 180. Now, that went a little fast, so let's look at it again, but slower this time. 90, 135, 90, 180, 180, 135, 180, 180, 180, 540, 540, 540, 180, 90, 135, 135, 90, and 180. Now, there are patterns at work here. However, within this sequence of barrels alone, there are 3 entirely different sets of patterns. It seems impossible to do this segment properly without memorizing each individual barrel. In one sense, this can be really gratifying. It's a challenge to learn the rhythm to each level. Personally, though, I find gameplay more satisfying when it revolves around patterns.